Hello, Amy here. Today I am going to show you a stretching routine. So this stretching routine is going to be mainly focused on the lower half of the body. So if you have got any sore lower backs, you're a bit tight in your legs or the back of your legs, you don't feel like you've got much flexibility there, you struggle with maybe big bum issues, like you're pushing your bum out, what's that, like a sway back or anterior tilt, that's what I'm trying to say. So these stretches are going to help with that. I'm going to go straight into it because you can just follow along with me. There is no set time for these stretches. I'm just going to go through them and basically break it down. So we're going to start off with, I've got the chair in case you don't have anything to lean on at this point. Grab a chair or something to lean on. So we'll start with your calf stretch. And this is going to progress into the front of your leg or your hip flexor stretch. Now just before we get into that, so your hip flexors, so you've got your quads, which are a group of 4 muscles on the front of your thighs, and your hip flexors, which I won't name, you don't need to know them. They basically go over your hips, they're joining your legs to your abs and all up here, so they go quite far. Imagine your hips, I mean that is the top of my hip there, and then I could feel it goes all the way down there, that's the front part of my hip, all the way round, and your glutes, so your hips kind of finish at your bum, and then your legs go in here. So the hip flexor area is quite big. Kind of equal to your glutes, I suppose, but we don't tend to look at them. So standing nice and tall, finding something to lean on. If you've got a wall, you can stand, place your hands on the wall. But we're leaning forward, make sure you're tipping the tailbone under as you lean forward, because that's going to open up those muscles there. Try and straighten the leg as much as you can. And with your legs straight, you'll probably feel the stretch in the meat of the calf. So I point to my other leg around here and more behind the knee. Just like that. And these are static stretches, so these are stretches that you would do after a workout, not stretches that you would do before a workout. If you want to know dynamic stretches and things to do to help you warm up before an exercise, I'll do a video for that in the future as well. And when I do, I'll post it up here somewhere. If that isn't really getting it down the back of your calf muscle, you can A, lean a bit further forward, or B, if you're noticing it's tighter around your ankle, keep the hip pushed forward but bend that back knee. Can you feel how the stretch changes? Yeah? So depending on a few different things, you might feel it in your ankle, on the sides, in the front of your foot. Everybody is different. Now I like to hold each individual stretch for approximately 30 seconds, but as I said earlier, I'm not counting the time on this. So let's swap sides. It's just going to be until the stretch eases up. So pushing the hips forward and then leaning into it. We will do a proper hip flexor stretch in a moment anyway, or a different one. So that one then you can lean up, but for this one, we'll just lean forward. So again, pushing the hips forward, feeling any stretch in your groin, in the top of your leg, right in the hip. You might feel it spread up your tummy as well. And again, if you're not feeling any stretch in your calf, try bending your back knee. Keep leaning forward. So leaning on something as well will help take any weight off of this front leg, especially if you've got weak knees, you don't want to put too much weight on it. So you can put some weight on the wall or the chair in front of you. So with these stretches, just make sure that you're breathing through them. You're not holding your breath, and just letting the oxygen get through to your blood, help go around the body, and just replenish, restore, regenerate those muscles. So that is quite enough of that. If you are quite tight, then just doing one lot of stretches isn't going to cut it. It's just like going to a massage therapist or someone like that. The next stretch I want to do is our quad stretch. So yes, stretch more than once. Refer back to this video if you need to. So our quad muscles, our quadriceps, the front of our thighs, are a group of 4 muscles, as I mentioned earlier, hence the name quad. Go all the way down from your hip down to your knee. So for this one, again, I'm going to turn this way so you can see. Push the hips forward. You need to kick yourself in the bum, or at least kick your leg up. If you can't do this, I'll show you with a bend. So if you need to, you can loop something around your ankle and then pull it up. But make sure you're pushing your hips forward and pulling your knee back. So if you can't reach your foot, that's a good thing to use, like a towel or a resistance band. I can reach my foot though, so I'm going to pull my heel into my bum. If you haven't got a chair, you can try holding on to your ear or a wall. As I said, a chair is always helpful. Push your hips forward, pull your knee back. So notice what happens if I don't do that. So if I let my bum sit backwards, this angle gets tight, gets shorter, smaller, and you're not getting the best stretch. So push and pull to open up that angle, really get the stretch. And you can feel this anywhere along the front of your thigh. And again, just breathe through it. I'll turn this way now. Push forward, pull back. So your knees might not line up. This one might be further in front. But what I don't want you to do is that. So just hold it. Although having said that, if you open out your leg, you might change the stretch to the outside. So if you are feeling tight on there, have a play. So you can lean, twist. I learned something new too. Swap sides. Music has decided it doesn't want to play anymore. That's okay. Kick yourself in the bum, hips forward, knee back. So this side, if I move this way, you can probably see my right leg is a lot tighter than my left. So I am pulling back as far as I can, and it's still quite a way forward. Make sure it's pulled forward. Over time, that will get better. And you'll be able to lengthen your leg, straighten your leg out more easily. So as I mentioned before, if you feel a good stretch when you do that, open out your leg and lean to the side. Because turns out, I need to stretch that bit, and that's how I do it. So there you go. It's all about education. Education is fun. Okay, so that was the front of the thigh. Straighten out your leg if you need to. Just move your legs from side to side. Wiggle the hips. Do a little bit of a belly dance. Shimmy. And now, the chair. We're going to stretch the back of your thighs. So, back of your thighs, your hamstrings have 2 muscles in there. There's called bicep muscles. Not these ones, but there are 2 heads. Two heads. So place your foot on a chair. And this time, when you're stretching, notice how I'm doing everything one side and then the other. You can do this and stretch out your hamstrings, but I prefer to do one side and then the other because one side is always a bit tighter, a bit stronger, a bit weaker than the other. And when you do this, your aim isn't to reach your toes. So I don't want you to go like that to reach your toes, because you're bending at the waist and your hamstrings are attached to your hip, yeah? So you need to drive that hip back to lengthen the muscle. So drive the hip back, pivot at the hip, and reach as far as you can. If you can only reach that far, that's fine. I like to slide my hand down my shin. And I also like to point my toes up to the ceiling. You can point your toes down, but you might as well get the stretch all the way down. And if you have something to lean on like a wall, go for it. As I mentioned before, you're just going to breathe through these stretches. Breathing through. And then standing up, I'm going to change to the other side. So point your toes to the sky and then reach forward. So notice I can't really reach forward very far on this side. I have neglected my stretching this week. Toes pointing up, driving the hips back and reaching forward. So remember, don't do that. Shoulders back. You get more bang for your buck, and we're all about that efficiency. Need good efficiency. Okay. So there is another way you can stretch those. You can sit on the floor and do the exact same thing with your legs stretched out on the floor. Okay? Now, just stepping wide, I want to stretch the inside of our legs. So, as I've been saying, so I'm going to reach side to side. Our legs are joined onto our hips. And in between our legs, we've got our pelvic floor muscles that sling to help keep all of our organs in, stop things from falling out and getting a bit messy. So by loosening up all of these muscles, and move that out the way, any tightness is going to affect the pelvic floor. It's going to pull on those muscles in your pelvis, in your hips. So doing little stretches is going to just take some pressure off, because if they're being pulled, you might pull holes open, you might get leaks, things like that. Or you might just have an imbalance in your hips and your pelvic floor is taking more of the strain to keep you upright. All of those. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting the inside muscles of our legs, which are joined up to the pelvic floor. So I'm just leaning from side to side. This is more of a dynamic stretch. This is my favorite way of doing it, rather than just doing a static stretch. You can do that if you wish, but for this one I like to really get into it. So if you can't lunge like this, then do what I just showed you, holding it for one side and then the other side. So you can lean like that. Okay. So that's quite a nice one. It's weird without the music, it goes all silent. Okay, so before we head down to the floor to do our glute stretch, I will show show you, I'll keep that chair, I'm moving that chair around like a crazy person. I'm going to do a lower back stretch. So with your hands palm up, I want you to reach that way. So remember how I'm always saying drive the hips back, reach forward on a diagonal. So this is going to start stretching out one side or the other of your spine depending on which way we reach. So drive back. You might also feel it drive forward in the backs of your thighs. Drive the other way. If you need to, turn your feet in. Let's try that way. Again, another dynamic stretch. So if that one's not feeling it for you, drive your hips back and reach like that. You can go to one side, place one hand on top of the other, and reach that way. Then hold that and do the same on the other side. We will do this one on the floor as well. But let's carry on with that reaching. Reaching and reaching. Do this one a couple of times and then we're going to head down onto the floor. Good. Drive it back. And the other way. And the middle. We'll do one more. Right, middle, and then left. Right. Middle. And left. So my favourite stretch, if you can't get on the ground, here is a glute stretch sitting down. Cross your leg over like that, lean forward, put your arm on your knee. Cool? That's leaning forward, that's going to activate those hips, the hip joint right in there, and it's going to work your lower back as well. So that's the seated one, but we're going to lie down. And that chair is done with now. We'll stop moving it around, won't we, Louie? So, similar thing. This time we're going to cross our leg over in front. Sink back. So again, it's working the hip flexors. We're getting down and we're holding the stretch. So I'm going to show you this stretch for the right side. I'll show you a different stretch for the left side. Ideally, if you can, get your knee at 90 degrees. A lot of people can't. As long as you're feeling a stretch, don't worry about it. And then get as low as you can. You can pop your leg up on the chair or on a bench or on the couch. Really drop that hip down. Louie. What's going on, baby? What's going on, baby? Okay, so for the other side, just like when you were sitting on the chair, you cross your ankle over, put it on top of your knee, and you can either stay like this and push away, or I like to lie down, use this as a chill out time. So grab around your right thigh, because then we're switching the left side, and pull everything towards you. I like this one because as you feel that stretch ease off, you can pull your foot closer to you and it will just activate that little bit more. And it stretches all the way up here as well in your lower back, all around that hip, that meaty part, that love handle part of the hip. Stretches all around there, which is really nice. Before we do our final stretch, I've got one more, which is, as promised, the hip flexor stretch. So getting into a lunge position. If you can't lunge, you can do this standing up. I like to kneel down, tuck the hips under, because this way you're getting rid of the calf stretch. And I like to think I've got more balance with my leg on the floor. So now, leaning forward and just reaching up to the sky, as high as you can. You don't have to go all the way, but as high as you wish to feel that stretch up there. But make sure that you're keeping the hips tucked in, reaching up towards the sky. And then other side, and hip tucked under, reaching up. You don't have to reach up, I like to. You can even sway, but for now we'll just hold the static stretch. If you're very tight in the front of your thigh, you might feel it there as well. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Again, just breathing through it. Nice and chill, nice and relaxed. This is your time. This is your time to just focus on you, listen to your body, tune in to it and how it feels. And make sure these stretches feel good and you're not stretching to the point of anything snapping. We don't want that. So last stretch, bring your feet together and your knees apart. We're going to go into a child's pose to finish. So sinking back, and as we're in this position, let your belly go, let everything just relax, and you can have your arms forward and sinking down, or if that's too low, you can place a cushion or your hands, your fists under your head. I'm just going to breathe through and everything relax for about, 30 seconds or so. Okay, coming up out of that. That is a nice one. If you wish, you can just stay there for a little bit. And hopefully the next video won't be too loud and disturb you. So I hope you enjoyed that stretch. Hope you felt the benefit from that. If you liked it, please click like and comment below to let me know what other stretches you'd like to see. I'll do a stretching video every Friday. If you want to subscribe, please just click up there to subscribe to my channel and click down here to watch more stretching videos. Cool? Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you next week. Bye.